Your life right now is nothing but the harvest of your thoughts. Every dollar you have, every opportunity you've received, every relationship you've attracted or lost, all of it was manufactured in a place most people never bother to manage, your mind. And if your results disappoint you, it's because the factory that produces them has been running without discipline, without direction, and without quality control. Imagine this. Every single thought you entertain is like raw material arriving at your mental factory's gates. The workers, your beliefs, your habits, your subconscious mind take those materials, process them, and turn them into tangible realities. If you feed your factory with ideas of limitation, fear, and self-doubt, what do you think it will ship out into the world? Poverty, missed chances, mediocrity wrapped in excuses. But if you feed it with purpose, conviction, and a relentless vision of a better life, the same machinery will start producing wealth, opportunity, and unstoppable momentum. Napoleon Hill taught that riches, whether they come in the form of money or personal fulfillment, are never created in a bank account first. They are always manufactured in the mind. Long before they appear in the physical world, most people make the fatal mistake of thinking they will feel successful once they see success. The truth is the opposite. You must feel, think, and operate as a success before you ever hold the proof in your hands. This is why two people can start with the same resources, the same environment, and the same obstacles. Yet one dies broke and the other builds an empire. It's not about the tools in their hands, it's about the blueprints in their mind. And here's the danger most never see coming. The mind is always working, whether you direct it or not. You are always manufacturing something. If you fail to give your mind a clear, definite chief aim, it will still produce results, but they will be random, inconsistent, and usually aligned with your fears instead of your dreams. Your mind doesn't stop to ask, is this what you wanted? It simply delivers on whatever it's been programmed to believe. That's why people who constantly think about their debts end up in more debt. People who obsess over being betrayed keep finding disloyal people in their lives. And those who talk endlessly about their limitations live within the prison they built with their own words. So I'll ask you something dangerous. What have you been manufacturing lately? Not what you wish for, not what you hope will happen, but what you have been consistently thinking, feeling, and believing. Because if you open the warehouse doors of your life right now, you'll see your mental inventory stacked high. And it will either inspire you or terrify you. The first law of this mental factory is simple. What you dwell upon becomes your dominant reality. This isn't wishful thinking or mystical nonsense. It's the way your subconscious mind operates. It accepts every repeated thought as an instruction. It does not question whether it's good for you or bad for you. It simply sets in motion the forces, decisions, and behaviors that make it real. This is why a person who constantly says, I can't afford that, will continue to live in situations where they can't afford things, while another who says, I'm finding a way to make it happen, will somehow attract ideas, people, and opportunities that bring the money. One sees the problem and programs their mind to avoid it. The other sees the problem and programs their mind to solve it. And the difference in results over a year, 5 years, or a decade is staggering. But here's where most people fail. They think that just because they had a positive thought once or twice, their mind is working for them. That's like sending one shipment of high-quality materials into a factory and expecting it to change the entire production line. Your mind's machinery is set by habit, by the dominant patterns of thinking you feed it day after day, hour after hour. A single spark of optimism can inspire you, but it's the discipline of maintaining that mental state that transforms you. This is why the rich and the successful guard their minds with the same ferocity a king guards his crown. They don't allow every random opinion, piece of gossip, or headline of fear to enter their mental gates. They know that each one is either building their fortune or corroding it. Napoleon Hill wrote that the dominating thoughts of your mind eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action. This means your mind is not just passively reflecting the world, it's actively creating it. If you understand this, then you also understand that every excuse you make, every negative word you speak, every complaint you entertain is nothing more than an order form you've just signed, asking life to deliver you more of the same. And life always delivers. You are the factory manager, but too many people have left the machinery running on autopilot, producing unwanted results, and then complaining about the poor quality of their own shipments. The truth is, you have the power to change the output at any time. You can decide today that your mind will manufacture abundance instead of scarcity, solutions instead of problems, courage instead of hesitation. But like any factory overhaul, it requires shutting down the old production line and rebuilding the systems. It means refusing to indulge the old patterns of fear, replacing the mental blueprints of limitation with designs for a greater life, and feeding your mind daily with the raw materials of faith, desire, and unwavering commitment. This is not a one-time adjustment. It is a continuous process. The mind will default to old programming the moment you stop feeding it new instructions. And when you do this long enough, something incredible happens. The machinery of your mind starts to work for you without conscious effort. Just like a factory that produces the same product with speed and precision, your mental processes will automatically spot opportunities, connect ideas, and attract resources that align with your vision. You'll notice that conversations lead to new doors opening, that setbacks seem to redirect you toward better paths, and that people begin to see you as someone who always finds a way. It won't be luck. It will be the inevitable result of a mind trained to manufacture success on command. Most people sabotage their mental factory not because they consciously want failure, but because they've never taken control of the quality of the raw materials they allow in. They live with their mental gates wide open, letting anyone and anything dump into their subconscious. They scroll endlessly through fear-driven news, absorb the bitterness of friends who gave up on their own dreams, and entertain their own inner voice that whispers, "It's too late or you're not good enough." They don't see the danger in this because the damage is invisible at first. It doesn't hit you like a hammer. It seeps in like a slow poison, dulling your ambition day by day, lowering your standards, and convincing you to settle for scraps. By the time most people realize their factory is producing failure, the habits of thought are so deep that breaking them feels impossible. But make no mistake, the moment you decide to seize back control, the machinery will obey you just as faithfully as it obeyed your fears. You must understand this. The mind cannot operate in a vacuum. If you don't deliberately feed it with the thoughts, images, and beliefs that build the life you want, it will feed itself with whatever is most familiar, and familiar is often the language of failure you've heard all your life. If your childhood was filled with phrases like "money doesn't grow on trees" or "people like us don't get ahead," those phrases became the operating system of your mental factory. Every decision, every reaction, every opportunity you consider will be filtered through that outdated limiting code. And unless you rewrite that code with new beliefs, you'll keep building the same life over and over, no matter how hard you work. This is why some people run in circles for decades. They keep changing their actions without changing the mental blueprints that dictate those actions. Reprogramming this factory begins with absolute mental discipline. You must become ruthless in guarding what enters your mind. This is not paranoia, it's self-respect. The same way a high-end manufacturer inspects every shipment of raw material before it enters the building, you must inspect every idea, every piece of advice, every story you hear. Ask yourself, if I let this into my mind, will it build my vision or destroy it? If it doesn't serve your vision, reject it without hesitation. Fill that space instead with the voices of those who have achieved what you want, with books that stretch your imagination, with affirmations that hardwire new beliefs into your subconscious. And you must do it daily, not when you feel like it, not when life is easy, but especially when you're tired, discouraged, or tempted to fall back into old patterns. Over time, you'll notice a shift. You'll catch yourself responding to problems with creativity instead of panic. You'll see opportunities in places where you once saw dead ends. You'll feel an inner confidence that doesn't come from your bank balance or your current circumstances, but from knowing that your mind is working tirelessly for your success, even when you're not consciously thinking about it. This is the point where most people will start calling you lucky, because they won't understand that luck is simply the visible side of invisible preparation. You will know the truth that you have turned your mind into the most valuable asset you own, a factory that never sleeps, never tires, and never fails to deliver exactly what you've programmed it to produce. And then comes the breakthrough, the moment when the compounding effect of your mental programming explodes into your life in ways that seem almost supernatural. One opportunity connects to another. One win opens the door to the next, and before you realize it, you're no longer chasing success. It's chasing you. The same way a well-tuned factory produces goods at an ever-increasing pace, your mind, now aligned with your vision, begins to produce results faster than you can even act on them all. People call it momentum. But it's more than that. It's the law of cause and effect, finally tipping in your favor after years of working against you. Every conversation, every decision, every habit you've been refining becomes a piece of machinery operating in perfect sync, churning out opportunities, relationships, and resources that fit your dream life like a custom-made glove. This is when you realize that wealth in its truest form isn't about numbers in a bank account. It's about power over your own reality. You've learned how to operate the master switch inside your mind. And because of that, there's no setback that can cripple you, no obstacle that can permanently block you. A failed investment? The factory analyzes the lesson and produces a new, better plan. A betrayal? The factory turns the pain into sharper discernment and stronger boundaries. Even in moments of loss, your mind now operates under a simple, unwavering principle. Everything is raw material for greater success, and because you've trained it to see the world this way, it's impossible for you to stay down for long. You simply convert every circumstance into something that serves you. People on the outside won't understand it. They'll see you thriving in situations that crush others, and they'll wonder what you know that they don't. And the truth is, it's not just knowledge, it's mastery. Most people drift through life with their mind as a wild, untamed engine, producing chaos and calling it fate. You've done the opposite. You've taken the wheel, drawn the blueprints, and rebuilt your mental machinery piece by piece until it runs with the precision of a master craftsman. And because you control the inputs, you will always control the outputs. That is why your fortune is inevitable. Not because the world suddenly became easy, but because you finally became intentional. From here, the game changes. You no longer hope for things to work out, you expect them to. You no longer wait for the right time, you create it. You no longer fear losing what you've built because you know that the real treasure is not the business, the career, the bank balance, or the lifestyle. The real treasure is the mental factory you've constructed inside yourself, one that will continue to produce abundance, influence, and fulfillment for the rest of your life. And once you have that, you're not just rich, you're unstoppable. If you're ready to take control of your mental factory, type this in the comments. I build wealth in my mind first. Doubt is the silent thief of fortune. It doesn't kick down your door or announce its arrival. It slips quietly into your mind, disguised as logic, disguised as caution, disguised as the voice of reason, and it robs you of the opportunities that could have changed everything. The cruel truth is that most people never fail because they tried and lost. They fail because they never began with absolute belief. They stand at the edge of possibility, peering into the life they could have, but they let a single poisonous thought, what if it doesn't work, chain them to the ground. And that thought, repeated enough, kills more dreams than bankruptcy, rejection, and competition combined. Napoleon Hill understood something that the average person ignores. Riches in money, in relationships, in health, in personal power, begin the moment you slam the door on doubt. The second you decide that the most dangerous misunderstanding people have about the mind is thinking it's only active when you're consciously thinking. In truth, the real work of your mental factory happens in the silent hours when you're not even aware of it. While you're asleep, your subconscious is sorting, filing, and assembling every idea, belief, and impression you fed it during the day. It's running your patterns in the background, rehearsing your fears, reinforcing your desires, and preparing the next day's results. That's why the person who goes to bed replaying their failures wakes up heavy, drained, and unmotivated, while the person who goes to bed visualizing their future wakes up with energy and clarity. The factory never shuts down. So the question becomes, are you letting it produce by accident, or are you giving it clear orders every single day? This is why morning and evening rituals matter so much more than people think. The first and last impressions your mind receives each day set the tone for everything in between. Start your morning scrolling through negativity, and you've just handed your mental factory a shipment of defective parts. Every thought, every decision, every conversation that day will carry the flaw. But start your morning feeding it purpose, gratitude, and a clear image of where you're going, and the machinery will run like precision engineering, building your day toward that vision. The same principle applies before bed. You wouldn't leave a real factory unsupervised with faulty equipment running all night. So why would you fill your mind with fear, drama, or envy right before the most important mental processing hours begin? There is also a law that few people understand. Your mental factory always delivers in proportion to the quality and intensity of the orders you give it. A vague wish like "I want to be rich" is as useless as sending a factory a note that says "make something." The output will be random, scattered, and inconsistent. But give your mind a vivid, detailed blueprint of exactly what you want, paired with an unshakable emotional belief that it's already yours, and the machinery will set itself to work finding ways to make it happen. You'll notice coincidences, but they won't be coincidences at all. They'll be the logical outcome of a mind running on a clear directive. Mind. And here's where most people trip themselves up without realizing it. They give their mind conflicting orders. One day they're determined to build wealth. The next day they're telling themselves money is evil. One week they're certain they'll succeed. The next week they're drowning in what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. Imagine running a factory where the instructions change every shift. Chaos, waste, and no consistent product. Your life will reflect the same instability if your mental orders aren't constant. The most successful people in history had one thing in common: a definite chief aim that didn't change with mood, circumstance, or temporary setback. They set the vision and let no contradictory thoughts survive in their mind. When you reach that level of discipline, something extraordinary happens. The world begins to feel like it's bending toward you. People call it attraction, manifestation, divine timing, or sheer persistence. But whatever name you give it, the truth is this: your mental factory is now operating with such efficiency and focus that it's creating results faster than you can consciously keep track of them. And in that moment, you'll understand why Napoleon Hill said that thoughts are things. They are not abstract, they are not harmless. They are the blueprints of your destiny, stamped into reality by the unrelenting machinery of your own. Running your mental factory like a millionaire manufacturer begins with one non-negotiable principle: quality control over every thought. A wealthy business owner doesn't allow defective materials to enter the plant because they know those flaws will show in the finished product. The same must be true of your mind. Every idea you accept, every belief you hold, every emotion you dwell on is a raw material that will be built into the reality you live. If you allow thoughts of scarcity, fear, jealousy, or self-pity into your factory, they will inevitably appear in your circumstances. It doesn't matter how much effort you put into positive action. If the mental blueprint is corrupted, the final result will be flawed. This is why the richest and most influential people don't just think big, they think deliberately. They treat their mind like sacred ground. They refuse to entertain conversations that drain them, stories that shrink their vision, or company that plants seeds of limitation. They are not being arrogant or antisocial. They are guarding the gates of the only place their fortune can be built. Napoleon Hill called this autosuggestion, the deliberate feeding of your mind with the thoughts you choose instead of the thoughts the world throws at you. And when you understand that your subconscious cannot reject a thought once it's been impressed with emotion, you start to realize how dangerous careless thinking really is. A true mental factory foreman, and that is what you must become, doesn't just react to life, they issue orders. They decide with absolute authority what will be built next. You cannot wait for conditions to be perfect before you think as if they are. You cannot wait for the bank account to grow before you think like a wealthy person. You cannot wait for the opportunity to arrive before you think like the one who deserves it. You must think first, feel it as reality now, and only then will your factory begin assembling the conditions that match it. This is the essence of acting as if, and it is not play pretend, it is aligning your inner machinery with the exact pattern you want to see outside. Once you master this, momentum becomes your ally. Every success, no matter how small, feeds your belief. Every belief feeds the factory with more precise instructions, and every precise instruction creates better, faster, more consistent results. Soon you will find yourself living in a cycle of growth that feels effortless. This is not because the work is easy, it's because your mind is now producing in harmony with your actions. You are no longer sabotaging your own progress with invisible contradictions. You've stopped sending mixed orders, and now every part of you is working toward the same end. So understand this: the life you're living today is not a verdict, it's a product. And the product can be changed the moment you change the factory that built it. The world will not hand you riches out of pity. It will hand you exactly what you have manufactured in the secret workshop of your thoughts. If you keep producing fear, you will keep living in it. If you keep producing excuses, you will keep choking on them. But the day you take full command, the day you slam the gates shut to doubt and throw them wide open to faith, vision, and relentless desire, that is the day the output of your life changes forever. Never forget, your circumstances are temporary, but your mind is permanent. And the one who owns the factory owns the future.